Hello and welcome to Real Hi-Fi Help. Well, let's take a look at Accuphase, the sound that you get from that brand. I must say that Accuphase is a very interesting brand, and I'm happy that it exists because there's so much equipment out there that's so grey, that's so dull, uninviting, and mechanical, and I feel that Accuphase kind of brings a bit more life and charm into the usual hi-fi sound that we're all used to. So let me just try and get into the plus sides of Accuphase, because that's actually quite a bit. I find it to be sweet, charming, have this like aesthetic aura. At the same time, it has this retro, warmish type of sound, and of course, lots of personality, almost in a romantic kind of way, with a touch of mystique. So just great. Those are very rare qualities, and it kind of brings you back to the old sound of Sansui, Luxman, and Yamaha in the good olden days. So just with a tiny bit more than that to offer. So yeah, it's nice. It's classic. It's a lot of that traditional sound that I really like. That good traditional sound. And yeah, just like Zero Fidelity said, mid range is kind of magical and very pleasurable indeed. You'll just find that you listen more to music instead of the gears. So yeah, again, rare, very rare. We have to kind of appreciate that because there isn't a lot of transistor gear on the market that can make sound beautiful and rich, especially with instruments and tonality. And I really think that people that have speakers that have good potential, like Canton speakers, they could be really good with Accuphase. I haven't tried it yet, but I can imagine that tiny bit of emptiness and coldness could be really good because it's so neutral, Canton. I can imagine that could be really like a good combination with Accuphase gear, pumping a bit of life and beauty into the recording. So yeah, I think price is reasonably good, and especially around the US and Canada apparently. But EU, yeah, I think it's a bit pricey in some EU countries, especially the in Scandinavia. I think it's a bit ridiculous the prices there. But other parts in the world, fine, really okay. Okay, if you consider it's pretty high classy gear. So I think that most people would really enjoy Accuphase, also because it's a very versatile gear. It's very compatible with a lot of stuff out there. So I kind of wanted to make a point by writing this that I think that if you gathered a panel of random people from the street, from the ages of 40 to 80, and then did a blind test with Accuphase against all of these brands in the same weight class, like Passlabs, Macintosh, Mark Levinson, Audioflight. I think that most of these people would then choose Accuphase, and then Passlabs as number two, and then Mark Levinson, and then Audioflight and Macintosh. And then I think that the younger generation would probably take the younger, probably like 15 to 40. I think that the younger generation would probably go after Passlabs, Audioflight, Macintosh, Mark Levinson, and then Accuphase in the end. Because a lot of younger people listen to more the effect type of sounds and more to the gear. And I think that usually you have to be a bit older to kind of appreciate the Accuphase sound because it's just a bit more human and has more of a personal touch, not being so focused on the structural side. So I find that kind of neat, kind of neat. So I haven't got a lot of negative stuff to say about Accuphase. There's just some points I want to make, and that is that I think that it belongs in the group of brands, just like I said before, with Macintosh, Mark Levinson, Passlabs, Audioflight, price-wise, value-wise, and just that type of customer that they're trying to appeal to, Accuphase. And just don't get me wrong, because all of these sound different, very different. But I'm just trying to say that Macintosh plays a lot on the looks and the heritage and the practicality. And I feel that it kind of neglects the sound a bit, seeming generally a bit cold, a bit distant, a bit linear, a bit suppressed, a bit 2D with the transistor sound that they make, where I find that Past Labs is then more for people wanting a sound that has a bit better structure and gives you a bit more value. So being less about the bling when it's Past Labs. And also I feel that it's kind of the same with Mark Levinson, which is like a mix between Macintosh and Past Labs. And Audiophile is more of this modern, edgy type of sound. But then this is kind of where I wanted to go with the whole point. This is where Accuphase comes in. I think it's just generally for people who think that the usual selection is a bit cold, a bit weird, a bit empty, a bit too much on the hi-fi structure side, instead of this like more old-fashioned, sweet, colorful personality type of thing. So yeah, I think that's kind of why Accuphase exists. And but I have to also say that I have to be a bit honest and say that Accuphase and all of these other brands, because I've heard everything on the market, I feel a bit that, I hope you guys don't get offended by this, but I feel a bit that all of this gear is a tiny bit pretend hi-fi, meaning that all of these brands do a lot of things that are really impressive, really good, and that's fine if you like it, but just compared to the best of the best, I just find it, a bit plasticky, the sound. I would though say that Accuphase is more real than many of these other brands. In general, it's hard to generalize because there's just so many models to cover, but I just feel that it's more of a down-to-earth, warm, natural type of sound with Accuphase. But let's be real, when you compare it to D'Agostino and then go a class up again, like Negra Spectral, it just doesn't come close. But again, I really want to say that it does all of these things while not doing it 100%. And what I mean by that is that it just puts a tiny bit of its own character on the sound and limits it a bit and plays it a bit safe, not fully releasing the sound. And I don't know what happened and when it happened with Accuphase, but I feel that I've listened to some of the older gear, and I haven't listened to all of the newer gear. But I feel that there's something happened in the Accuphase timeline where they just changed sound, so it became very different. And I actually prefer the older style. I know it's more raw, it's more simple, but I just felt that somehow it was more real, more just less managed in a way, and had a bit more charm. But I still feel that the newer sound that they make is somehow in a way also better. It's hard to describe. I haven't really owned any Accuphase gear, and I haven't heard a lot in my circa 20 years. So it's very limited, me being more precise than that. But I'm just here to basically give you like an idea of what it is, so you can hear some certain things and then you can gather your own opinion. So yeah, I just want to say that I find it a bit of a pity because it's close to that top YBA performance, and also a bit close to that ear tube brand, and I kind of like that. I like that style, I like that passion, I like that diva type of sound, but it's just not quite there yet. and I feel that it's a bit like Luxman, top Luxman, and this regular Yamaha mid to high class models, the 2000, 3000, 5000 models under normal conditions. That's how I feel that Accuphase is a bit. But I still think it's cool, what they've done, and that they've been able to achieve this sound by having so much in the signal, all these gizmos, treble and bass control, and all of these buttons and adjuster here and there. I still find it amazing that they've been able to pull that off, having such a pure sound, despite of these things. So don't feel that I'm talking bad about this brand. I'm just a real hardcore purist type of audiophile, and I just have like a craving for the best of the best. So that's where this kind of comes in, and I also kind of feel that the Yamaha 2000 to 5000 series of amplifiers in particular, that they kind of beat Accuphase price-wise, so that you're getting actually quite a bit more with these models compared to Accuphase. So I think that at least with some European countries, they could do a lot better price-wise, but of course the countries like Canada and the US, that have some pretty good prices there. And I would actually consider buying Accuphase if it was like my second or third system, and I lived in the US, or at least in Canada. Then I would definitely consider buying it. But me living in a northern Scandinavian country, definitely not. Just because of price. And I've seen them on the used market. They really keep their price really well. Accuphase, a lot like Macintosh. So it kind of says that this is a big brand. This is a respectable brand, and a lot of people recognize that, and I do recognize that there is some of that Japanese quality to Accuphase, and I have no idea where it comes from, if it's a Chinese, Korean, or Japanese, or wherever it comes from. Accuphase, I have no idea. I haven't researched that, but I just get this kind of feel of Japan, that makes some pretty good stuff when I listen to Accuphase, and that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, I want to say that there is a substantial difference going from top Accuphase to then top YBA, and then you're going on to Burmeister, Griffin, D'Agostino. I mean you hear these jumps in quality when you go up to these brands. So I still feel that Accuphase are just not quite there. It's a bit on the sugarcoating, romanticized, charming side. Not entirely correct. The 3D, the structure could be a bit better, but I mean, I'm being a bit picky. I know. When you have all of these things, when you have all these controls, it acts like a filter. It puts like its own charm on the sound, a bit like Yamaha and Luxman. So I get it. I think it's just kind of a religion type of thing. Some people like it sugar-coated. I'm not too crazy about it. I really liked it when I was getting into hi-fi and kind of in the middle of my journey. Now that I'm at the end of my journey and I've kind of listened to everything, I just want it, as real as possible, even though it's perhaps a tiny bit harsh. I still prefer it that way. That unfiltered truth, so you can hear everything that's going on, and then you just, you as a user have full operational control on then tweaking your own sound, going from one extreme to the other. Because you have to realize this, and that whenever you get help, whenever you have these controls with the bass and the treble and the equalizer and all of this stuff, it minimizes the amount that you can move the sound. And that is why I'm not placing it substantially above Macintosh, Pass Labs, and these other brands. I'm kind of putting it all together around that class, and just saying that it's a different priority, it's a different taste, it's a different type of person with a different type of mood, and that's fine, you know. I like that. I think Accuphase is here to stay. They still make some pretty good sound, and yeah, I'm glad it exists. And yeah, you kind of have to take everything that I'm saying to you know, proper context, your ability to squeeze everything out of the gear, local conditions and such. You know, everything that I say is kind of based on the ideal perfect way of doing stuff. And I know that everybody doesn't do everything the same way, and we can't all agree. But that's my take on the sound, and I hope this helps you guys. And remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, have a look at my plus 200 other videos I have. Have a nice day. Bye.